Hello friends, welcome back, and if you are new to our channel, thank you for stopping by. Today I have a beautiful knitting pattern to share with you, for which we need stitches in the multiple of 9 plus 6. So I have cast 9 into 327 plus 6, that is 33 stitches. And I have worked 2 rows of knit so that my pattern doesn't curl. That is not the part of the pattern. Now this pattern is an 8-row pattern, so let us begin with the very first row. Now the edge stitch, we can either slip it off or we can knit. After that, please watch carefully. We are going to bring our yarn forward, make it double. We have 2 strands, out of which one can be pulled easily and the other is the tight one. So we take the tight one into consideration and work 2 number of purl. So our pattern has already started forming. Now again we'll pull back the main yarn backwards and then again pull the yarn in the front, making a double loop, and then with the tighter side we are going to purl 2. Once that is done, with the main yarn we are going to pull it back. So our very first pattern is done. After that I am going to purl 2. Now yarn backwards. Now here we are going to make 5 stitches. Please watch carefully. That's the first. We wind the yarn. That's the second. Again wind. So finally what we have is, we have 5 stitches out there. If you count, out of 1 stitch we made 5 stitches. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Now we take a yarn backwards to make that special pattern by folding the yarn, and let's bring it in the front, and with the tighter yarn I am going to purl 2, 1 and 2. Now the main yarn is pulled backwards. Again the double yarn comes in the front and I purl 2 with the tight yarn. So that's done. Now let's pull the yarn backwards. Again the yarn comes in the front, but this time we are going to purl 2 the ordinary way. Now yarn backwards. Out of that 1 stitch we are going to make 5 number of stitches. It's a simple process. We just have to wind the yarn in the right needle and we will get our 5 stitches in the needle. That is done. Please count. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards. Again the double yarn comes in the front and we are going to work that 4 stitch pattern. 2 number of purl, the main yarn pulled back, again the double yarn brought in the front, and here I am working 2 number of purl. Now the main yarn is pulled back again. Now the yarn we bring in the front to work 2 number of purls, 1 and 2, the ordinary purls. Yarn back. Out of the 1 stitch we are going to make 5 number of stitches. That is done carefully by winding the yarn around the right needle and then working a knit. That's done. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Now yarn backwards. We are going to bring the double yarn in the front and work 2 number of purl with the tighter yarn. Yarn backwards. We pull the main yarn, again the double yarn brought in the front, and we work 2 number of purl with the tight yarn. The main yarn is pulled backwards, and finally the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So the first row of the pattern comes to an end. Let's move on to the second row. The edge stitch is slipped off or purled. Now the 4 stitches where the special pattern had been formed is going to be a purl, 1 2, 3 and 4. This is the point where we had worked the pattern using the double yarn. Now 2 number of knit. Now yarn forward. The 5 stitches are going to be a purl. This is the wrong side of the pattern. This is row number 2 and it is easy. 5 stitches done, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 4 number of purl. This is where the pattern had been formed using the double yarn. 3 and 4. Now yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, 5 number of purl, 1, 2, 3, that's 4 and 5. Now yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 4 number of purl. That is where that pattern had been formed using the double strand or taking a double strand. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit. Now yarn forward, 5 number of purl. Now yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 4 number of purl, and finally the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. Second row of the pattern is complete. Moving on to the third row of the pattern, edge stitch is slipped off. After that, the double strand of yarn is brought in the front and we are going to work 2 number of purl with the tighter yarn, the tight one, and the main yarn is pulled back again. Again the double strand brought in the front, we work 2 number of purl. Now the main yarn is pulled back. After that, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards, 5 number of knit, 1, 2, that's 3, 4 and 5. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl. Now yarn backwards. Now we are going to bring the double strand in the front and work 2 number of purl with the tighter yarn, and the main yarn is pulled back. Again double yarn in the front, 2 number of purl with the tight yarn, main yarn is pulled back. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards, 5 number of knit. So this is the sequence that is to be followed for the third row of the pattern. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl completed, yarn backwards. Now the double strand comes in the front, working 2 number of purl with the tight yarn. Again the yarn, main yarn is pulled back, the double yarn pulled in the front, working 2 number of purl with the tight yarn. The main yarn is pulled back. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards, 5 number of knit, which will again be followed by 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards. Now the double strand of yarn comes in the front and we work 2 number of purl with the tight yarn, 1 and 2. The main yarn pulled back. Again double strand comes in the front, we work 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. The main strand pulled back, and finally the edge stitch is going to be a knit. So our third row comes to an end. Moving on to the fourth row, the edge stitch is purled. After that, it's going to be 4 number of purl. That's the point where we had worked the pattern using the double strand. After that, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, 5 number of purl. So that's the sequence for the fourth row of the pattern. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 4 number of purl. That's the point where the pattern had been formed using the double strand. Now working 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward, 4 number of purl. That's the point where the pattern had been worked using the double strand. After that, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 5 number of purl. So this way we are going to work the fourth row in this sequence, and the edge stitch is going to be a purl. So here finally I am working the edge stitch, which is a purl, as I told you earlier. So the fourth row has ended. Now moving on to the fifth row of the pattern, the edge stitch is slipped off. Double strand in the front, we work 2 number of purl and then pull the double strand back, the main yarn backwards. Again the double strand in the front, we work 2 number of purl with the tight yarn. Now the main yarn is pulled back. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Yarn backwards. Now please watch carefully. There will be a slight change in the pattern. This is the 5 stitches that we have. 2 stitch, we take it out and put it back into the needle again. Now we are going to work the 2 stitches together from the back side. After that, 1 knit and again the 2 stitches together but from the front side. So out of 5 stitches we made 3 stitches. Now yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. Now again the double strand comes in the front and we work that 2 number of purl with the tight yarn, main yarn pulled back, double strand comes in the front, 2 number of purl, main strand pulled back, yarn forward, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Now yarn backwards. The 2 stitches are moved into the right needle and then it is put back again. Please see how it is to be put back, and now the 2 stitches are worked together from the back side. So that's done. Then a knit and again the 2 stitches together but from the front side. So this is the sequence that we need to follow for the 5th row of the pattern. After that, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards. Again the double strand comes in the front, working 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. The main yarn pulled back, double strand comes in the front, 2 number of purl, 1 and 2. Main strand pulled back, yarn forward, 2 number of purl. Now yarn backwards, 2 stitches we move into the right needle and then put it back into the left needle. Then we are going to work the 2 stitches together but from the back side. After that, a knit and then the 2 stitches together from the front side. Yarn forward, 2 number of purl, yarn backwards, the double loop double strand comes in the front, 2 number of pearl. The main yarn pulled back, again the double strand comes in the front, working 2 number of pearl with the tight yarn. The main yarn pulled back, and then the edge stitch is also going to be a knit. So the 5th row comes to an end. Moving on to the 6th row of the pattern, the edge stitch we slipped off. After that it's going to be 4 number of pearl, 1, 2, 3 and 4, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 3 number of pearl, 1, 2, 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit. So the sequence is very easy to remember. Yarn forward, 4 number of pearl. That's where the pattern had been formed using the double strand. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 3 number of pearl, 3, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2, yarn forward, 4 number of pearl. So this is the sequence that we are going to follow till the end of the pattern, and the edge stitch is going to be a pearl. As this is the wrong side of the pattern, the edge stitch will be a pearl. So here the 6th row of the pattern comes to an end. Let's move on to the 7th row of the pattern. The edge stitch is slipped off. After that the double strand pulled in the front, working 2 number of pearl, 1 and 2. The main yarn pulled at the back. Again the double strand comes in the front, working 2 number of pearl. The main yarn pulled at the back, yarn forward, 2 number of pearl, 1 and 2, yarn backwards. Now the 3 stitches we are going to work together, for which the first stitch is shifted into the right needle and then put back. Now the 3 stitches we are going to work together, and out of 3 stitches we get 1 stitch. Yarn forward, 2 number of pearl, 1, 2, yarn backwards. The double strand comes in the front, working 2 number of pearl. The main yarn pulled at the back, yarn forward, again 2 number of pearl with the tight yarn. The main yarn pulled back, now yarn forward, 2 number of pearl. Yarn backwards, 1 stitch shifted into the right needle and then put back. Now the 3 stitches we are going to work together. After that, yarn forward, 2 number of pearl. Yarn backwards, double strand comes in the front and we are going to work 2 number of pearl. Main yarn pulled back, again the double strand comes in the front, we work 2 number of pearl. So this is the sequence for the 7th row of the pattern. And the edge stitch is going to be a knit, as this is the right side of the pattern. While making the 3 stitches one, we must remember to first shift the first stitch into the right needle and then put it back and work the 3 stitches together. So here finally the 7th row comes to an end. See how beautiful our pattern has already started looking. I hope you all will try this pattern for your sweaters, cardigans. Now the final row of the pattern, or the 8th row, edge stitch is slipped off. After that it's going to be 4 number of pearl. Now yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, 1 and 2. Yarn forward, a pearl. yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward, 4 number of purl, yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, so this is the sequence that we are going to follow for the 8th row of the pattern. Yarn backwards, 2 number of knit, yarn forward a purl, yarn backwards again 2 number of knit, yarn forward 4 number of purl, and the edge stitch is also going to be a purl. So the 8th row of the pattern comes to an end. Now imagine a beautiful sweater having this pattern, and I have worked another set of pattern so that the design becomes more prominent for you to understand. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I did showing it to you. If so, do give a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family members. If you are new to our channel, do consider subscribing and stay tuned for interesting videos. So till we meet again, it is bye-bye from all of us here at Plants, Crochet, Cooking and more. Bye-bye.